Welcome to Module 7. Our subject is pricing. Upon completion of this module, you will be able to understand the importance of pricing, identify different pricing strategies, determine the unit cost of your product, determine a price for your product, and identify necessary cost changes to be competitively priced. Our introduction to pricing will begin with understanding why pricing is critical to the success of your products, not just for today, but for the future. When you understand every facet of your pricing and how you ultimately determine that price, you will then have the confidence to increase your distribution to other classes of trade and geographical areas as your business grows. Creating a price without understanding key components can sink your business, particularly when you're trying to grow. When determining price, you must be able to answer the following questions. What is my gross profit margin? What is margin versus markup? What are my promotion and distribution costs? Am I competitively priced in the market? Understanding gross profit margin will help you to ensure you are clear what is an appropriate amount of profit to make to succeed with your product. By definition, gross margin is your selling price minus your cost of goods to produce your product. For example, if a product selling price is $6 and the cost to make that product is $2, then the gross profit margin is $4. It is important to note that gross profit margin does not include your fixed costs, only your variable costs. For example, it does not include your promotions or your distribution, and those two areas alone can be significant costs. Often there is confusion with how to determine what your suggested retail price should be. Is it determined by margin or markup, and what is the difference? Markup is the percentage added on to the cost of a product to get a selling price. For example, if you sold your product to a wholesaler distributor for $1 and they in turn sold it to a retailer for $1.50, then the markup would be 50%. Margin, on the other hand, is the percentage of the final selling price that is profit. Take the same example of selling your product for $1 to a wholesaler distributor, and they in turn sell it for $1.50. The margin would be expressed as a percentage of the selling price as 33%. Promotion and distribution costs are important to determine, or your products will not increase in volume or geographics. If you do not promote because you have not accounted for it and therefore cannot afford it, you risk losing your product listing and being pulled off the shelf. If you do not consider the cost of distribution on your products, you cannot add this on later. It is too great of a cost, and you cannot take more than a 3 to 5% price increase without serious backlash from your customers, both the retailer and the consumer. Take the median price for distribution at 28% and 12% for your cost of promotion, and ensure this is added on to the cost of your product when determining your price. Now that you are clear on what gross profit margin is and the cost of distribution and promotion, you must not lose sight of your competitor's price in relation to your own. Once all your costing is determined, you need to set a price. It is imperative to ensure you can justify your price on the market. For example, if you make jam and the average selling price of jam on the shelf is $4 and your jam is $8 or even higher, how do you justify that price, and furthermore, how do you sell enough volume to warrant a retailer to carry your product? Be very clear about what you are offering and if you are indeed selling a higher quality product or a niche product. All of your marketing materials need to reflect the reasons for the cost differential between you and your competition. Now we're going to talk about pricing strategies. There are a variety of methods to set your price. In this module, you will look at 4 strategies: cost-based pricing, competition-based pricing, customer-based pricing, and break-even pricing. Let's begin with number 1, cost-based pricing. In cost-based pricing, the price would cover the cost of manufacturing your product plus the fixed overhead plus a profit. Your operating cost worksheets contain the cost of producing your product plus the fixed overhead costs. In cost-based pricing, take your costs and add on a profit to determine your price. For example, for a unit of apple chutney, the cost of production is as follows. The variable cost per unit is $2. The fixed cost per unit is $2.55, making the total cost $4.55. the profit wanted for the product is 30%, which equals $1.36. Add the cost with the profit, and your total selling price is $5.91. Our next pricing option is competition-based pricing. In Module 5, you prepared a profile of your competition and determined the prices they charge for products similar to yours. The price range set by your competition is the range your customers will expect. You can use this as a guide to set your prices. You can set your price the same as your competitors or higher if you're confident that your quality, taste, and packaging are superior to your competition. You can also set your price lower than your competitors to lure customers away, but make sure that you are still covering your costs of production and overhead. Our third strategy is a customer-based pricing strategy, which is dependent on how much the customer is willing to pay for your product. You need to consider the customer's attitudes and values towards prices, product quality, value, and prestige. Some customers believe a higher price means higher quality, and others are price sensitive and are catering to more of a mass market appeal. You want your price to reflect your product image. Our fourth and final pricing strategy is break-even pricing. Break-even pricing will tell you the minimum quantity you need to produce and sell in order to break even, the point where there are no profits or losses. To calculate your break-even point, you need your variable costs, fixed costs, and volume. For example, let's suppose your variable costs are $2.25 per unit, fixed costs of $125 per week, and an expected selling price of $3 a unit. The break-even point is determined as follows. You would take the expected selling price of $3 and subtract the variable cost of $2.25. The remaining amount for the fixed cost is 75 cents. You then determine your units required to cover overhead. You take your fixed cost of $125 and divide it by the remaining amount of your fixed cost, 75 cents, and the total is 166 units. The break-even point in this example is 166 units, meaning the producer needs to produce at least 166 units per week to cover all costs. In this example, if the costs and volume sold remained the same and the producer decided to increase the price to $3.50, there would be a profit of 50 cents per unit, or $83 a week. Some producers use the break-even pricing strategy to bring attention to their products by pricing them as loss leaders. A loss leader is a product that is used to bring consumers to your brand by pricing the product well below consumer expectation. For example, a popular beverage company from the U.S. called Santa Cruz Beverages uses this strategy. They have one product in their lineup of juices, organic lemonade, priced at $2.99, while the remainder of the line is anywhere from $5 to $7 per bottle. It is by using the lemonade as a loss leader that they bring consumers to potentially buy the other flavors in their lineup as well. You can use the break-even pricing calculation to determine if you have the capacity to produce and sell the volume required just to break even. Running a sensitivity analysis by varying the volume, sales price, and overhead costs will assist you in determining sales in units and dollars required to break even, costs to produce a specific volume, and costs, volumes, and sales to achieve a profit target. Here are some additional tips on pricing. Do your homework and know your costs. You do not have endless chances to get your pricing right, and once it's out in the market, it is extremely difficult to make more than minor changes to it. Blend pricing methods to achieve balance between covering what your customers will pay, your competition, your costs, and making a profit. The pricing methods that have been described to you in this module should never be employed alone, particularly when your product is new to the market. Try to find price that incorporates balance between price, sales volumes, and costs to achieve profit. And finally, understand that a product is only worth what people are willing to pay for it, and there is a pricing threshold with products. For example, if you are selling a bag of cookies and you calculate that in order for you to make the appropriate margins, your product ends up retailing for $10.49. You will want to take another look at your costs and calculations and ensure you bring that retail price point down to $9.99. It is important to adhere to your margins. On the other hand, a price that hits a consumer threshold of over $10 could very negatively impact your ability to sell volume. Now that you have a basic understanding of the various pricing strategies, download and print worksheets 19, 20, and 21 to determine your own pricing calculations, pricing strategies, and setting your own product price. Once you have completed the 3 worksheets, place them in the financial section of your business plan binder. Prices must cover all of the costs of producing the product, including ingredients, packaging, labeling, labor, fixed overhead, as well as profit. If you find that similar products are available for less than your initial estimate, you may want to consider one of the following options. Lower costs by changing suppliers, ingredients, facilities, co-op buying, etc. Lower your profit margin. Sell more products by reducing your costs through economies of scale and expand your market area. And finally, provide enough differentiation in your product that the market will pay the extra. Create a niche market. Our final worksheet for this module is an exercise in pricing terminology. Download and print worksheet number 22, titled Pricing Terminology, and complete matching the definitions with the terms to ensure you have an understanding of each term we covered in the pricing module.